Hey guys, welcome back to the Jason Hanish Leadership Lifter, where we're lifting the lid of leadership in the local church. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to you about how to set goals and plan for a new year. Let's get into it. So if you're like most people, you approach the new year with a certain mindset, with, hey, we can get a fresh start at stuff. Maybe I can plan some New Year's resolutions and lose some weight or get a little bit healthier. Most people are thinking that way. And if you're a leader, you're probably thinking growth oriented and ministry oriented. What's the next step or next level for your team or for your church? Most of us, though, statistically, never even make it to Valentine's Day. So 6 weeks is how long the average New Year resolution lasts. And I think it's pretty sad. This is what it really looks like. We make these resolutions and they're not working. And what happens is, after so many years of maybe us believing or planning or setting goals and us not getting them, we tend to look at the new year not with the same faith anymore. So we're limiting our belief in the potential of what God can do and the expectation of a new year. Maybe you're listening right now and that might be you. Like your expectations of a new year, almost every year you lower them and lower them and lower them just because you're not hitting the marks that you're setting. So it's really not working for you. And when it's not working, these New Year's resolutions that you're making aren't working. It's really, I found, for probably two primary reasons. One, we're focusing on doing rather than becoming. So a lot of times the things that are on our resolution list and these goals, it's all about the activities that we're doing. But if you aren't changing your identity, who you are, you'll never continue to do things that are contradictory to what you believe about yourself. You're always going to come back down to that level, that place of who you really are. So your resolutions and goals, don't just make them about what you're doing, make them about who you're becoming. The second reason why I think they fail is because our goals, they're too far away for us to generate traction and transformation. They're just too distant. They're too maybe lofty or big. And I love big goals, big dreams, but we have to figure out how to scale towards and generate traction and momentum towards the big goals and the dreams that we have. So what I'd like to share with you today is how to set goals and plan for a new year. And this is something that I've been using for over a decade and refining how I approach a new year, but also the rhythm of my year so I can actually attain the goals that I'm setting. I have a rhythm that I'd love to share with you, not only the goals, but the rhythm that's going to help you get to the finish line this next year. Okay, does that sound good, you guys? 7 areas I want to give you first, 7 areas of focus for your goal setting. And if you have not subscribed to the Jason Hanish Leadership Lifter or downloaded the show notes, this would be an episode that you need to do that, man. I got all these notes for you to help you kind of look through, answer some questions, and really help plan and set a rhythm for your new year. So go grab the show notes. They're available for you online. 7 areas of focus for your goal setting. 7 areas. Here they are. Number 1 is faith. So in what areas or in what ways is your relationship with God going to grow this next year? Maybe it's time to some of you join a small group or to start serving or to start leading. Maybe it's in the area of your prayer time or your Bible devotion. How is your faith? That's the first area. How's your faith going to grow? Secondly, is your family. Intentional time and investment into those closest to you, all right? What does that look like in this next year? Are there some key milestones this next year coming up in your marriage or in your family, in your kids, that you need to be mindful of and planning intentionally for milestone moments? Maybe one of your kids are going to go through puberty this next year. Maybe they're graduating high school. Don't let that hit you unexpectedly next year. Go into this year planning goals and being intentional about your faith, about your family. Here's number 3, about your future. How are you investing in your future? God has a purpose and a plan for your life. And what steps are you taking, though, towards that plan, towards your calling, towards your career or the life goal? Number 4 is your friends. What goals are you setting for your friends? Maybe you need to develop some new friends. Maybe you need to set some boundaries with some friends. Maybe you need to cut some friends off, some old friends off. I mean, that's just part of life, you guys, as we grow and outgrow maybe some of the people that are around us. But that'd be a place to look and assess and start to set some goals about our relationships, our friendships, okay? Number 5 is your fitness. So God cares about your entire health, not just your spiritual health, but how are you going to steward your body and your health better this year? What are the fitness goals that you're going to set? What food, what activities, what fitness goals are you going to have? Okay. Number 6 is your finances, your finance goal. This is your earning, your spending, your saving, your giving. Maybe you need to get on a budget, like a workable budget, and you need to plan a workable budget with you, your spouse, or if you're single, you need to get on a budget and stick to a budget this year. Maybe you need to go to Financial Peace University, one of the small groups we offer here at Discovery, or you need to take some sort of budgeting class or financial management class. That'd be a goal to set in this financial domain. Number 6. Number 7 is your field. So your career, your academic goals for some of you that are students. What career goals are you setting this year? What steps are you taking to maybe be in the field of your dream? Maybe you're not in the right field today, but you have a dream to be. Okay, well, let's look at this next year and start setting some goals for these 7 areas of focus. They all begin with F. Let me give them to you again. Faith, family, future, friends, fitness, finance, and field. We're going to look at these, and if you download the show notes, you can ask some questions of yourself and start to develop some great goals. But as you develop these goals and we move into the next year, how do we get some traction? Let me give you some tips here. Instead of saying for fitness goals that you want to lose 40 pounds and get an 8-pack of abs or something like that. Instead of going that direction, let me just encourage you to scale it back to something that's a little bit more tangible. That will inevitably, though, if you do that, you will actually get healthier. For instance, instead of saying I'm going to lose 50 pounds, which is great, don't get me wrong, for some of us who want to lose weight, but how about you set a goal that says, you know what, I'm going to get to the gym 3 times a week. And I'm just going to get there. And my goal by the end of the year is to get to the gym 5 times a week. Okay. That's my goal. What you're doing here is you're creating a more tangible goal that can generate traction and can produce transformation. A lot of our goals are way future outcomes based instead of traction based. So that would be a good fitness goal for yourself. So make sure when you're setting goals, you're setting some goals that are attainable that will get you to your long-term results that you're actually wanting. Okay, so we got some goals. You're going to take some time for prayer. You're going to seek God's heart, maybe even conversation with mentors, pastors, leaders, loved ones to refine some of these things. But as we get into the new year, how do we make sure that we keep the goals in front of us? How do we make sure we're continuing and we don't drop off again before Valentine's Day? How do we make this year the best year ever, the most productive, the most fruitful, the most powerful, where you actually you are transformed more this year than any other year? It's going to be based upon like the rhythms that you have in this year. So you're gonna do some great things, I'm hitting some of these goals at the beginning of the year in January. But what you have to do is follow up great action with quiet reflection. And here's the secret. Listen, some of us are just going, and there's no stopping, there's no pausing. You have to follow up effective action with quiet reflection, because from quiet reflection, you get even more effective action. There are some kinds of growth that can only come when we stop, pause, and allow the lessons to kind of catch up to us. Reflections,
turn experience into insight. See, experience is not the best teacher. Some people are like, oh, experience is there's nothing that, yes, experience is important, but it's not the teacher of all things. Evaluated experiences. I know a lot of people with a lot of experience, yet they're not any wiser. You know why? Because they didn't evaluate anything from the experiences that they have. Everyone needs a time and a place to pause. So in order to get that, you need to have the right pace this year to reach your goals. You need to have the right rhythm of reflection that allows you to gain from the experiences that God is going to give you this next year. I call this a rhythm of reflection for my own life. And this is something I've been doing and refining for over a decade, you guys. This is my rhythm I want to give you that I've given to so many leaders, but and it's not just, unique to me. It isn't. This is something that you can apply. These 6 rhythms you can apply to your life to make sure that you have the proper pace and traction all throughout your year, okay? 6 rhythms. Here they are. Number 1, you need a daily devotion, okay? You need to have, you got to stop, and maybe it's getting up a little bit earlier, but you have to have a pause moment where you're actually hearing from God, thanking God, where you're getting into His Word every day. If you want this to be the best year of your life, it has to be the best year of your life spiritually. If it's the best year of your life spiritually, it has the potential to be the best year of your life. But if you leave that component out, I'm telling you, it's not going to work the way you think. We need to get in rhythm this year. We need to actually spend some time with God. A daily devotion, that is the number 1 rhythm that we must have if you want to stay in a proper pace to reach your goals and to become who God has called you to become and who He's making you to be. Then we have to have, number 1, a daily devotion. Number 2 is this. We got to have a weekly Sabbath. A weekly Sabbath. That Bible word, Sabbath. A lot of you know that word. If you're in ministry and in leadership, a lot of you that listen to this podcast are. It's a day of rest. It's a day where you stop, you reflect, you remember, you rejoice, okay? It's not a day that you get caught up on things, which maybe some of you use it for that. What I want to encourage you to do, if you're truly want to make this the best year ever, want to reach your goals, you have to have a time where you actually stop once a week. It's counterintuitive, I get it, but God can do more through you with 6 days than you can do by yourself with 7 days. Okay, so have a weekly time where you stop the grind and you have a reflection where you're looking back on your week. You're thanking God for some things. And I'm actually going to give you some questions to ask yourself during these rhythms as well. But this is important. Daily devotion, weekly Sabbath. Number 3 is a monthly analysis. Okay, what's that? Yeah, this is something I do and you should do every month, where you probably do this in some respect. Hopefully, if you have a budget, you got a monthly time where you're looking at your budget, at your income, your expenses, and you're analyzing what's coming in, what's going out, and what should we do next, and how are we progressing to some of those goals that we've set financially. Well, just like maybe a good financial planner is going to monthly analyze their finances and income and outgoing and saving, this is a monthly time for you to not just do that financially, which is great, but to actually do this for your goals, to do this for your ministry, where you monthly are going to have a set time. I would encourage you to put it in your calendar like it's the same day of the week every month that I'm going to analyze the last month and see how effective I was with my faith, my family, my fitness, the goals I'm setting. I'm going to analyze that every month and look at that. If you don't, you cannot manage what you're not measuring. So you have to have a time that you pause and you look at it and you analyze the goals that you have and where you're at in the year or the season. A monthly analysis. Number 4 is a seasonal strategy. A seasonal strategy. Now, what's that? That's every season. And for me, that's every 4 months, breaking the month up into 4 month, 3 seasons every year. Once a season, as I approach a new season, before I get into that season, I have a time that's set in my calendar that I reflect not on a monthly, looking at month to month. I reflect on the season. What happened last season? What was God doing? What did I learn? What were the opportunities? Where am I at with my goals? And then I look ahead into the next season I'm entering into at my commitments and my responsibilities and the opportunities and my goals. And this is an opportunity when you're doing seasonal strategy to pivot, to refine, to make modification. This is the strategy stop, the strategy pause, the strategic moment in your life and in your rhythm where you're getting a 30,000 foot view at what God is doing, saying, and what's coming at you in this life. So you're not just always in reactionary mode, man. You can actually seasonally pick your head up and respond accordingly to what God is doing, to the opportunities, to the goals, to the challenges that you're facing. So you have a daily devotion, a weekly Sabbath. You're going to plan a monthly analysis. You're going to put it in your calendar. You're also going to plan, number 4, a seasonal strategy. You're going to put it in your calendar before you enter into a new season or right when you're entering into it. You got a time where you're looking back and looking ahead. And then number 5 is this, an annual retreat. Okay, you got to get away annually. You have to take you got to vacate, get away from it. Take a vacation, take time off. You have to, I've noticed this, the higher you go in leadership, the more time you actually need to vacate. The more time you actually need to just let things go and breathe and refresh, because the more responsibilities you're carrying, the more margin you need. But every single person needs an annual retreat where you're just getting away. Now, here's what I do. At sometime during my retreat, and I'll get away for at least 3 weeks every year, back to 3 consecutive weeks amidst other vacations. But that's a time for me to abandon and step back and refresh myself. But for one of those weeks, usually it's the last week, my wife and I, Pastor Veronica and I, we both intentionally pray and fast about what God is doing, what he has done this year, what he wants to do this next year. And we're looking ahead at what the next year yields for us. What are the opportunities this next year? And it's a time for us to write and hear from God and for him to shift and to shape us. And that happens in a time where you've actually retreated yourself for a couple of weeks away. And then after a couple of weeks of just retreating ourselves, we just press in to the voice and the presence of God to hear from him. So annually, you got to retreat. You got to get away from it. And then number 6 is life purpose. And now that might not be necessarily a rhythm, but I needed to put it in there because you need to know God's purpose for your life. You got to, I think it was Peter Drucker that said, begin with the end in mind. And some of us we're going on this journey, but there's no end in mind. You don't know God's dream and purpose for your life. And so that might be why that we're not getting traction, because we don't know the target we're aiming at. We don't know where God is taking us. You got to have a life purpose. And it's during that annual retreat time, that in your goal setting time, that everything comes back to God's purpose for my life. I'm not going to set goals that require commitment and time and energy and resources from me and my family and my team and everything that doesn't align with God's purpose for my life. If I don't understand that purpose, then I'm going to spread myself thin. I'm going to commit to the wrong things. I'm going to grow maybe in the wrong areas that I don't even need to be focusing that much time and energy in. I have to know my life purpose. These are some rhythms, 6 rhythms that are going to help you stay on track this year and produce some transformation. Let me give them to you again. Daily devotion, weekly Sabbath, a monthly analysis, a seasonal strategy, annual retreat, and a life purpose. Okay? When you're doing your times of reflection, there's some evaluation questions. Remember, experience isn't the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. Successful people, they ask better questions. I've noticed that. And as a result, they're going to get better answers. The wise man questions himself, but the fool questions others. Wise people question. So what questions should you be asking yourself as part of your evaluation to gain the most from the experience that God has given you? You're going to get through this year. I promise you are. You might have challenges, you might have problems, you might have obstacles, but you are going to get through this year. the question is, are you going to be any better for it? Are you going to get through this year actually growing and soaking up from every experience, even the challenges and hurts and pains? Are you going to get through this year better? And it's going to be based on how you evaluated the experiences. So let me give you 8 evaluation questions that you need to be asking yourself. And you can ask yourself these questions during your times of rhythm, okay? Your rhythm of reflection time. Number 1, what did I say I was going to do? That's a question you ask yourself. So when you're doing your daily devotion, say your weekly Sabbath, monthly analysis, your seasonal strategy, you need to ask yourself, what did I say I was going to do? Okay, you need to go back to what you actually said. And then number 2 is, what did I actually do? Okay, I said I was going to do that, but I actually did this. Okay, let's have some honest reflection in our life. Number 3, the third question is, what am I proud of? I mean, this speaks to like just the accomplishments. Sometimes we can focus on the wrong things and just all the negative and all the bad. But man, ask yourself this question during your rhythm of reflection time. What am I proud of? The fourth question, though, is what am I not so proud of? What are some things that, man, that attitude, that remark, that trigger, when I responded that way, and this is, again, during daily, weekly, monthly, seasonal. And these are questions you can ask yourself to make sure that you're growing from the experience, not just going through the experience, okay? Number 5 is, how did I lead people this last week during your weekly Sabbath? How did I lead people in your monthly analysis? How did I lead people this last month? And you think about your monthly coaches meeting or your monthly, gathering you do at your house or whatever. How did I lead people? And you're able to reflect and analyze. Number 6, how did I follow people? Okay, the best leaders are the best followers. If you don't know how to follow people, you are not going to understand and know how to lead people. So how did I follow people? Number 7, what would I do different? Man, as I look back and at this week, what would I do different? As I look back at this month, at this season, what would I do different? And you're asking yourself some hard questions. The wise person asks themselves better questions. Fools question others. Wise people question themselves. Here's the 8th question, is in reflection of this last, whatever the rhythm is, in reflection of this last week, this last month, this last season, what am I going to do this week? In reflection of this last month, what am I going to do this month? In reflection of this last season, what am I going to do this season? I know a lot of content for you, but I'm so excited about this new year and what it yields for us. It is an opportunity for a fresh start. It's an opportunity for God to give us new experiences. It's an opportunity for us to become more of who God has called us to be. Download the show notes, and I hope that you have the best year of your life.